All right. Are we ready to go?
I believe so.
All right. Welcome to the Crypto Show. Here I am in the Valley of the Sun, Phoenix, Arizona, at ASU, home of Dash Core Group, which is not actually Dash, but it's a portion. It's owned by Dash. And we have Liz Robuck, who is the Senior Product Manager here, right?
Exactly.
And of course, it's been a long time, but my co-host Chuck is on the line with me, which is great.
Yeah, good to be back, man. This is a great way to kind of reintroduce ourselves to the process and the flow and what's going on with Dash, right?
Right. So I guess we should start with how did you get connected to Dash and how did you become the Senior Product Manager?
Well, thank you guys so much for having me. It's great to be here. I got started with Dash almost 2 years ago. I started in March of 2018. Can't believe it's almost 2020. The way that I got into it was, at the time I was working in product management at Disney Parks and Resorts, where I focused primarily on e-commerce product management, and started getting interested in cryptocurrency. Like so many people, kind of fell down the rabbit hole and started going to conferences. Ended up meeting the Dash Core Group team at one of them, and they happened to be hiring for a product management position. So I told them what I did, and they let me know they had the role open, and I applied, and the rest was history.
Awesome. You have a question?
Yeah, that's great. I remember, so you came on just a few months before I departed. And I think we had a chance to kind of connect and go over some of the product stuff. It looks like from the presentation that I saw, not a whole lot has changed in terms of goals, right? It seems pretty consistent. I'm wondering, like, one of the questions that I had for you is, like, so you've obviously, I'd love to hear a little bit of a synopsis of your journey in understanding what Dash was trying to do in the beginning, and then how you kind of transitioned into understanding the goals of what you were trying to do, and then how that translates into the work that you're doing on the product.
Sure. So, the number one thing that I heard about Dash when I first saw Ryan's presentation at this conference, where I ended up meeting the Dash Core Group team, it was all about ease of use. And that's really what drew me to Dash initially, was that focus on making cryptocurrency really easy for people to use as a true payment method. And so when I came on, the vision that, as it was described to me for evolution, the vision, was to make Dash basically the easiest to use cryptocurrency network focused on payments available. And so a lot of people, I think, hear about evolution and immediately think about Dash Pay. So, Dash Pay is the mobile application that we're building that will allow people to exchange Dash using usernames. And I think initially that was my understanding as well. But as I came to learn what was actually being built, I think I recognized that it's a much broader set of scope that is actually being delivered as part of evolution, Dash platform being the best example. It's absolutely enormous. And, I think my goal was to kind of help to clarify in terms of all of the different products and all of the different features that we're delivering as part of evolution, how that fits in to our overall vision in terms of kind of, what are the general strategies that we're following. And, that's kind of how I ended up sort of settling on this framework of kind of looking at our network from the supply side and the demand side and defining it that way.
Okay. I have a question too. So evolution is more of a description of the platform, right? And the name is actually going to be Dash Pay. Is there anything behind why? I mean, because the original vision was this would be called evolution, and then there was some change at some point where they shifted into Dash Pay. Is there a reason for that? Because that's a question that comes up all the time.
Sure. It's a common misconception. And really what evolution is, that word is intended to encompass a vision for the entire network beyond just the mobile application Dash Pay. So evolution is the goal of making Dash the easiest to use payments network. And that includes Dash Pay, the mobile app, which will make payments in Dash extremely easy for individuals and businesses to make, as well as Dash Platform, which is our development platform that will make it extremely easy for developers to build things with Dash.
So there's a lot of concerns. Like, one of the things that I've found in trying to help people understand, what Dash is, what cryptocurrency is, what the Dash products are, or the host of services that are going to be offered by the network and the platform. The challenge that I have found is a lot of people don't seem to understand where the line is going to be drawn between what Dash Core Group is going to do, what Dash is going to own in terms of, they've drawn the line very firmly around being a payments network, right? And that's always been kind of the ethos. But there's always people who come in and say, well, if you guys are getting into smart contracts, and if you guys are getting into dApps, who's going to manage the the applications? You need security and controls around those applications. Who's going to review those applications and all this kind of stuff? There's all these layers and layers of like ecosystem that kind of build on this core. And I'm wondering, like, do you think that the position of the Dash Core team has evolved at all, or can you state that position in a way that very clearly draws that line for the public?
Yeah, I mean, I think, Dash Core Group, as we said at the beginning of the show, is just one of many groups that is hired by the Masternode network to build things for Dash. And this vision of and the focus on payments, this is the vision that we have always sort of seen. Now, that doesn't mean that we wouldn't support other uses of the network, and other groups are certainly welcome to experiment with Dash and use it to build other things. There's numerous examples of potential use cases for example, for Dash platform, because of its sort of structure, as it could be compared to like a cloud database as a service. And so as a result of that, you can build any number of applications using Dash platform that just require sort of a trustless, decentralized ledger. And I think we certainly encourage and would love to, continue collaborating with other groups that would like to use it for other purposes.
So the funds have grown thin because of the market, and some of the proposal owners in the past have turned out to be sour or bad grapes or whatever. Are you guys looking at maybe changing the focus of how things go so that you don't waste funds on things that might turn out to be, less than fruitful?
Absolutely. And I think that's a big part of why we have the focus on prioritization that I talked about a little bit earlier today, which is really intended to do just that and target the things that are going to get the network the biggest bang for the buck as quickly as possible.
So how do you respond to those who are asking for, things like custodianship, things like shared masternode ownership? Like there's a lot of features that people want at the end of the day. And I'm just curious, like, you must have some kind of response where you say, yeah, look, we're going to try and get there, or something. Like, how do you address that?
Yeah, I mean, those couple things that you mentioned, those are absolutely things that we consider. Just like every other piece of feedback that we get, about potential features or products that we should be considering. Generally, our response, certainly recently, has been, we're really focused on getting this first release out to take that big first step towards delivering the full scope of evolution. So we're laser focused on delivering Dash platform to Evonet at the moment, and getting Dash Pay ready to integrate with it as well. And we're really just trying to stay focused on that at this time.
So this is all expected to land, and I'd love to like summarize it for anybody who's watching. We've got, maybe you can break it down real quick, but I understand you've essentially got the DAPI, which is like the connection point that's an API that is commonly used by developers to talk to backend applications. And in this case, the DAPI is going to act as an endpoint for the masternode network and all of the Dash operations, right? And then you've got the Dash SDK, which I'm assuming is to help the developers leverage the DAPI, integrate into their apps, both desktop and Android. I think there were 3. There's going to be a...
Yep, there will be JavaScript, iOS, and Java, Android.
Right, yeah. So you got those implementations, and then you've got the Dash Drive, right, where you're storing across IPFS. Is that still in the cards? IPFS is still being used? I wanted to confirm that, but I also so that kind of sums up those. Did I miss anything there?
No, I think you summed it up really well, Chuck. Those are the kind of the main components of the platforms. You have DAPI Drive, and then and the libraries and SDKs that will allow developers to build on it. The only thing that I might add is the addition of the documentation portal, which Jeremy is going to talk about a little bit later today. So certainly hope people will tune in for that. And that will provide really helpful and clear documentation for people on both the core side as well as platform.
Okay. Yeah. So that being said, I mean, one of the things that I love about that stack is essentially you get all the basic like computing components, and the secure pieces are secure. And this is why I advocate for Dash, and is that you can still build all your logic. You can do whatever you're going to do in your language of choice, whether it's Python or iOS, whatever, C, Go, whatever, however you want to do it. Your business logic doesn't need to move out of its current location, which I think is a huge advantage that Dash has in this implementation over something like Ethereum, where you have to learn the Solidity language to execute the contract on that platform. Here, you can execute your contract in your own code and just leverage the API to do so. And that's, I think, going to be the explosive kind of growth point as long as we can support developers onboarding, right? And so I'm assuming that's the next phase, right?
Absolutely. That's absolutely the goal. As we talked about, one of the primary goals for Dash as a network, not just for individuals and businesses that use our applications, but for everybody who participates in the network, it's all about ease of use. And so I think, Chuck, you really touched on one of the key points of differentiation for the Dash platform versus other developer platforms that are out there right now in blockchain and cryptocurrency, which is that developers will be able to build those applications using the programming languages that they're used to.
Right, exactly.
How important is decentralization to Dash, do you think?
Well, certainly very. I think, decentralization, it's, in cryptocurrency, there's a spectrum, right? And there's trade-offs as far as that goes, but certainly decentralization.
And so where I'm going with this is like one of the main criticisms that you'll hear about Dash is in the proposal system, it's that the core group owns most of the master nodes and they're able to just vote themselves anything. Now, if there's a way of like changing that, what if, since the master nodes own Dash core group through a trust, if there were elections so that the main officers in Dash core group could maybe term limits, things like that, so that new people are in, and you can no longer say that, all right, Ryan owns all the master nodes, so he can just vote himself money. What do you think about that idea?
Well, I think it's a discussion that likely should happen at the trust protector level. That's why we have our trust protectors. They're there to represent the master node network and ensure that Dash core group is adhering to kind of their vision for the network. So certainly, I think that would be a discussion that belongs there.
Because you can say, the core group is not voting themselves in, but I think the only way to like really prove that would be to change the leadership so that people cannot say. I don't know. I don't know what you think of that, but it's just something that crosses my mind because that is one of the criticisms that comes up over and over and over.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, and I don't know. I don't think anybody really knows who owns Masternode within Dash core group and to what degree that affects things. And I can't really comment on that. Yeah. I'm real focused. I'm just the product person. Right.
Well, yeah, that's It is a challenge, and I wouldn't expect you to look at that. But I guess I would ask in that same vein, Elizabeth, how has your perspective on like economy and money in general like been affected by your experience working for Dash now?
That's an interesting question. I think working for Dash has really opened my eyes to this whole other world of finance. Historically, the financial world has not really been something that I've engaged with. I've worked in technology for most of my career, and so it's been this really amazing, wonderful intersection of technology with finance, where it's gotten me much more interested in enabling finance through these decentralized technologies. And I think we're still early days in this industry, and I can't wait to see how cryptocurrency and blockchain technology has changed the landscape of the financial industry in 5-10 years.
Yeah.
So one of the sorry, Chuck, but so one of the markets that is majorly important for Dash is Latin America. What is Core Group doing to focus on maybe language integration and things like that? Where are you guys focused with that?
Sure. So, yep, absolutely. Latin America is a major focus for us. We've seen really strong adoption in Venezuela as well as other countries. And so we do have quite a bit of focus on ensuring that all of our products are appropriately internationalized. And in addition to that, we are pretty active in terms of our business development efforts in finding and engaging with partners in those markets that will allow for the expansion of Dash as a payment mechanism. In addition to that, we are very connected with those groups that are based there that are other Dash-funded organizations, and regularly conduct user feedback interviews with them to gather their feedback.
Yeah, you do have like one of your core members is in Latin America. Kind of Ernesto deals directly with a lot of the guys in Venezuela.
Yep,
pretty well.
So yeah, I guess that's I was the economic perspective, certainly the with Venezuela going that direction. I'm wondering now, are you what's the next few months look like in terms of this launch process? What are you anticipating? What are you planning? How are you staging this out? How can anybody who's involved with Dash in the community like help? That's kind of where I'm going with this.
Sure. So there's lots of things that you can do. I'll start by answering your first question about kind of what the next few months really looks like. Dash Platform and Dash Pay are both going to be rolled out in a very iterative process. So we'll start with Dash Platform, as it is basically, it's a dependency for Dash Pay to work properly. So we're starting with the rollout of Dash Platform to Evonet, which is it is a test net, but it is a public test net that other developers can connect to in order to play around with the Dash Platform functionality. Dash Platform is going to be rolled out in 4 main phases. At least that's what we're planning right now. So the first phase is going to be Evonet. The next phase is what they're calling securing the platform, then incentivizing the platform, and then we'll go to mainnet. In parallel with that, we'll be rolling out Dash Pay in a number of phases as well, and doing integration testing along the way. As far as, forgive me, what was the second question?
How can people help? How can
people help? Thank you. So, I think the main thing is just getting out there and setting up meetups, going to cryptocurrency meetups to educate people about Dash. I think certainly developers in our community, I'm hoping, will be excited to plug into Evonet and start to play with some of the cool features of Dash Platform when that's available at the end of the month. And, I think just go on, get in there, play around, give us your feedback. I think that's, a big part of why we're doing this iterative delivery is, 1, to get to market as fast as possible, of course, but 2, to ensure that we're gathering user feedback along the way. So we want to hear that. And, I think just continuing to spread the word about Dash. And if if community members need tools and collateral and things in order to do that, we'd be more than happy to work with you to
Awesome.
provide it.
So to that end, I've been thinking it would be really awesome if the Dash community could somehow coalesce from a development perspective around something like a Stack Overflow. I think we need a Stack Overflow for Dash. And if I could plant any seeds on the Dash core team, that would be one of my selfish requests. Is let's get something out there where some of the core team members are just like answering questions on there and building a reputation for themselves, and also we're building up a library of Q&A that's specifically technically oriented around Dash implementations.
I love it.
What would be the elevator pitch of what Evolution is or what DashPay is? The main features, what are they? What do they do?
So Evolution is the vision of making Dash the easiest to use payments network in the world. It's about financial freedom and the ability to move your money to anyone, anywhere, anytime. Dash Pay is the ability to easily make payments to your peers as well as to pay your favorite merchants using usernames instead of long, scary cryptographic addresses in a familiar and easy to use interface. And Dash Platform is the ability to build applications and programming languages that on the Dash blockchain.
Any improvements or resolutions on the on-ramping process? I'm trying to punch a big hole in what you just said. And I'm going to say, okay, there's still friction for people on-ramping. Yes, I can get the app. Yes, it's easy to set up an account. But is it easy enough for me to get the Dash in the first place if I don't have any?
Yeah.
If not, what's the answer?
It's a great question, Chuck. And, I think, one, we are designing an invitation process around the Dash Pay, the app, that we believe will help to incentivize adoption through referrals. Beyond that, one of probably our main focus as far as business development efforts right now is on and off ramps. And I think, we also certainly, that's another point of or place that the community can potentially help is by educating exchanges in their local markets or that they're connected with on the benefits of Dash, things like instant send, allowing your customers to be able to very quickly trade to take advantage of arbitrage opportunities, the benefits of chain locks, making Dash one of the most, if not the most secure blockchain in cryptocurrency. The more that we can get that message out to exchanges, I think the more that we're going to be able to address that.
I know smart contracts and schemas how's that coming into play?
So smart contracts are a potential item that are being considered as part of the roadmap. They are not planned for the 4 phases at this time of Dash platform that I mentioned, only because we don't believe that they are part of our minimum viable product at this time. However, we are going to have something called data triggers, which functions somewhat similarly and will allow for the creation of some interesting financial applications that require kind of some of that automation that smart contracts would provide.
Yeah, that's definitely a conversation that's going on a lot. And I've kind of contended for a long time that the label of smart contract is a misnomer because it's been so conflated across the industry. And when we first talked about quote unquote smart contracts on the Dash platform, it made perfect sense to just call them that because you can execute a contract on this chain and you can make them smart with your code, which kind of fulfills the basic principles, right? And that is apparently all you need to call something a smart contract in this day and age, right? So right. I certainly appreciate your care because I know that we don't want to promote falsehoods, right? And it's important to be clear on this. And I guess one of the things that I would also like to confirm with you, so it sounds like smart contracts in the strictest of definitions is on the table, but data triggers are our current answer to smart contracts on the Dash platform, right?
Precisely.
So yeah, and as long as things haven't changed, I've been proselytizing, promoting, advocating. Look, you write your own code. You're already doing it, right? To all the developers that I talk to, you're already writing your business logic. You're already going through all the pain of figuring all that out. You don't want to necessarily take on a new language on top of it, right? So just get that logic locked in, and then the things that are secure, this is my message, the things that are secure, that's what the DAppy's for. You lock that in, you get your confirmation, it's on the chain. You don't have to worry about all the security around that financial transaction.
I think that's a great way of putting it.
Good. All right, so I'm still on track with my advocacy. Cool.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't have anything else really burning. I don't have a whole lot of people in the watch party asking any questions, so we've taken.
I have one. I don't know how related this is, but what's the status of Dash Labs? Are they continuing to produce anything, or do you guys know anything about that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I am not really in a position to answer that right now because Dash Core Group doesn't really have any direct relationship with Dash Labs at the moment, and so. The truth is I can't really comment on it.
Yeah, I think they were just supposed to develop stuff that would add to Dash itself.
Yeah, I think it was intended to be the hardware arm, but we'll see. We'll see if that comes around. It's a while back now.
All right. I guess that about covers it then, right?
Yeah, thanks for joining us, Elizabeth. It was good to see you again.
So how can people find out about you and more about Dash Core Group?
Sure. So you can reach out to me on email, elizabeth.robuck@dash.org. I'm on Twitter @LizRobuck. I'm on Discord @LizRobuck. So please feel free to reach out. Happy to answer questions anytime. And thank you guys so much for having me. This was great.
All right. Thank you.
Take care, Liz.
You too.
Okay, Chuck.
Right on, brother. Let me know if you just send me a text if anybody else pops on.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have Omar in a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, I need to catch up with him.